It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from around the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Cody Johnson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to our Thursday edition of the NCW Life News. I'm Steve Hare. Stories that are making the cut for tonight. We'll have an update for you on the landslide threat along Squilchuck Road. Also, extensive washout damage keeps Loop Loop Pass in Okanogan County closed. And Representative Kerry Gandata talks more about how the Hearst decision out of Whatcom County could affect eastern Washington well water. Later on, we'll have a complete sports report with Eric Granstrom and, of course, comprehensive weather with Dan Coons. First, let's turn to our top story. It appears that the threat of landslide has eased in the foothills along Squilchuck Road, southwest of Wenatchee. County commissioners say they continue to monitor the ground movement in the Whispering Ridge and Cranmer Road areas. Commissioner Kevin Overbay says crews have completed work to reduce the threat downslope along Squilchuck Road.
They actually put about 780 feet of culvert in on the upper side of Squilchuck Road. It's a 3-foot diameter. Would be able to, in the event that the hillside comes down, in a catastrophic event that blocks the roadway, blocks the creek area, what that would be is a bypass for water to get through versus having it dam up behind, whatever land would come down. And so it's more of a preventative measure right now. Not saying that the catastrophic event will occur, but in case it does, that's just part of our preparation for that.
So how has the movement been down there as far as slope of the movement?
It has slowed down since our weather has dried out a little bit, but we still do have some movement up on Cranmer Road, and we are monitoring this on a weekly basis.
Meanwhile, Cranmer Road remains closed to the general public with local traffic only on Whispering Ridge Road. Elsewhere, repair work continues on Highway 20, the Loop Loop Pass, and that's after several washouts closed that roadway earlier this spring. DOT spokesman Jeff Adamson says it could be a long wait to get that road reopened due to the extent of damage.
There are 8 different locations where the roadway was damaged badly enough to close it by itself. With 8 of them in there, we have a contract. Their target is July 20th. That's the end of the contract. And our hope is that we will be able to have the roadway open by then, but frankly, we're not making any predictions at this point. Highway
153 is your alternate route, by the way. Spring runoff has caused a variety of problems for Okanogan and Ferry counties, where scars from the last 3 years of record wildfires has resulted in numerous washouts and landslides. Water's for fighting for. Mark Twain's quote best describes the legislature's debate over a response to the state Supreme Court's so-called Hearst ruling. In its 6-3 decision, the state Supreme Court said Whatcom County had failed to protect water resources by allowing new wells to reduce flow in streams for fish and other uses. Now, the court said counties must ensure that water is physically and legally available before issuing new building permits in certain areas. House Representative Kerry Gandata commented on that ruling.
This is all being pushed not only by the courts, but right now by a group of Seattle legislators. There's a large group of Seattle legislators because that's where the population is, and they have come to the conclusion they want to stick with this decision. And it is not tolerable to those of us out here. It's just not necessary. I don't think Seattle understands the water situation out here, and they're trying to implement their issues on us. And this has been a big sticking point the last few years, that if folks in Seattle who have moved their caucus considerably to the left have really tried to become the statewide model. And that's not right. I don't care personally what Seattle does. They can do whatever they want, but they're meddling with our livelihood, our farming, and our water situation. So this has to be solved. Now, we're fortunate in one respect that the capital budget is a very important budget for a lot of folks, and the Senate holds the capital budget, and so does the House, because you have to have 60 votes for a capital budget. So we're in control of this, and we are not going to let that capital budget out until we get an agreement on Hearst. But they are not moving. And it's our leaders met with the governor yesterday. The governor wants to move. He'd like to get it done, but frankly, the Seattle legislators are drawing a line in the sand.
As the legislature, by the way, is in special session. after failing to adopt a budget before the April 23rd regular session. Coming up, we have a report on recent news coming out of the Transportation Council for North Central Washington. The Wenatchee City Council also expected to make a major announcement this evening at their meeting, and Grant County gets technical in a mock disaster drill with emergency responders. I'm Steve Hare. You're watching NCW Life News.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back to our program. Chelan Douglas Transportation Council met this morning to approve their budget for 2018, and the gas tax was among the topics discussed. Among other topics of discussion was future road maintenance costs for local cities.
Our underlying budget is roughly $450,000 a year just to fund ongoing staff of 4 people in operations. What varies from year to year is whether we're doing special transportation planning studies, corridor studies. So from year to year, we usually will hire a consultant to do maybe $100,000 or $200,000 project. So we've got some of that work in the budget this year. It was a little higher than average at I think $660,000. And we function off of state and federal grant resources to pay for the planning. There's a little bit of local money. Cities and counties fund about 20% of our budget. Growth simply generates more traffic. So there's rule of thumbs that say every single family house that's built generates on average 8 to 10 vehicle trips per day. So we try to forecast where we're going to experience growth and traffic congestion. Really in this valley, because we're in the bottom of a bowl with not that many roads and highways, in a sense, it doesn't matter where we grow, it all ends up on North Wenatchee Avenue, for example. The gas tax in this state has increased considerably in 3 big steps over the past, I think, 16, 17 years. And each time that's happened, the part of the gas tax that's increased is pretty much all going to fund state highway projects. And these are real needs. They're needs in our community as well. So it's not that we haven't received any of those funds, but the part of the gas tax that's directed to cities and counties to pay for local roads hasn't increased while the gas tax has increased. So proportionally, local government used to receive about half of the gas tax 20 years ago. Today it's less than a fourth, I believe, of the gas tax, which means the buying power is less than it was 20 years ago. The segue there is we've been talking at the council for quite a while now about what do we do about this. The preference, of course, for local elected officials is to say, state, please fund our roads. You used to do this. And I think we've come to a point where we realize that we can keep asking, and we will, but cities and counties all over the state are starting to deal with this at home by whether it's local $20 car tabs, or Leavenworth, for example, they've instituted a small sales tax that helps pay for some of their city streets. So we started talking about, is there a regional approach that makes sense in Chelan and Douglas counties that might look like something like, for example, we're allowed under state law to do a local gas tax. And we spent quite a bit of time exploring that over the past year, and we got to the point where this council thought it made sense to float the idea. But we don't have the authority to do that. We're a planning organization.
Thanks to NCW Life's Cody Johnson for filing that report. Well, the City of Wenatchee and local telecommunications expected to enter into a public-private partnership could have the city sharing space at the federal building. Local-Tel recently purchased the building at auction, and it offered a portion of the building to the city for its space needs. Local-Tel President Dimitri Mandelis confirmed that with NCW Life News soon after the company's $3.9 million bid was approved by the General Services Administration. Now, the two entities are reportedly targeting a July 31st date to formally agree to terms of a possible sale to the city. Estimated cost to the city would be about $2.5 million, according to city officials. Tonight's meeting, by the way, is open to the public at City Hall. Starts at 5:15. Emergency responders participated in a high-tech mock disaster drill yesterday in Grant County. Exercises conducted were part of a partnership between the Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology Directorate, Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, and the Grant County Sheriff's Office Emergency Management Division. Sheriff spokesman Kyle Foreman said the exercises tested new wireless technology which enhances situational awareness and physiological monitoring.
Physiological monitoring gear was used, or it can be used once it's finally finished, to be able to remotely monitor the blood pressure, heart rate, temperature of a responder during working conditions, and transmit that data back to a computer screen to be monitored by someone at a command post. The other technology that was tested out was some wireless video technology attached to drones, but also attached to personnel and other pieces of equipment in order to get better imagery of incident scenes and to record that imagery, as well as allow incident commanders to be able to make better decisions based on what they could see from that technology.
Over 100 personnel participated in several different scenarios, which included functional exercises simulating the search and rescue of a missing person. Also a brush fire at the gorge started by a boat on the Columbia River. Also locating and accounting for emergency responders operating at an incident, and other simulation as well. Foreman called the exercise a big success. You're watching NCW Live News. Coming up next, Eric Grandstrup with your sports report and our feature story today on the Dog Days of Summer event coming up this weekend at the Town Toyota Center.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
And a good Thursday evening. The Wenatchee Apple Sox scored early and kept adding on in a 9-0 win at Victoria last night in West Coast League play. Evan Johnson continued his early season power hitting with a 3-run homer in the sixth, his third of the season. On the mound, Mason Shaw pitched 6 2/3 innings of 6-hit shutout ball to earn his first victory after taking 2 of 3 from the Harbor Cats in BC. Victoria now comes to Wenatchee for the first of 3 games tonight, 7:05 game time at Paul Thomas Senior Field. By the way, Evan Johnson with that home run last night, he has 10 runs batted in so far on the season. History also made in that game last night. In the 8th inning, they brought in a woman. Claire Eccles made her first appearance of the season. She is the first player in West Coast history as a female to play, and she is a knuckleball pitcher. By the way, the two teams meet over the next 3 days at Paul Thomas Senior Field. You could see that female knuckleballer on the mound. By the way, for the Apple Sox, they're 10-7 overall in home openers, 5-5 in league, 5-2 in non-league, have a 1-game losing streak. By the way, the most runs ever scored in their entire history occurred in the home opener back in 2008. Team from north of the border, the Okanagan All-Stars, was in town. By the time the game finally got over, 40-1 was the final score. Mike Zunino's second home run of the night was a 2-run walk-off shot to right field with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth as Seattle knocked off Minnesota 6-5 at Safeco Field. All but one of Seattle's runs were via the long ball as Kyle Seager and Carlos Ruiz also hit solo shots. Manager Scott Service again praised Zunino for his approach and game-winning at-bat.
I think for me is the swing he took. He wasn't trying to pull the ball out of the ballpark. He just put a good swing on it. And he's very strong, very gifted, a lot of power. It's just got to make good contact. And funny, you know, he's sitting there, he walks to the plate, and Edgar says to me, he goes, "This is a good matchup. This guy throws a good sinker, and that's what Z hits." And lo and behold, 3 pitches later, we're walking away. So awesome night for our guys to hang in there. And you know, without Cruz in the lineup, everybody chipping in again.
Nelson Cruz was a late scratch with tightness in his calf, so Service turned to backup catcher Carlos Ruiz, also known as Chooch, to be the Mariners' designated hitter.
Chooch hasn't played in a while, but Chooch, you know, historically has been very good against left-handed pitching. You know, with Cruz out today, the bench guys moving, so trying to get as many right-handed bats as we could in there. It's not ideal. You play both your catchers and you look up and they both hit home runs. So great night. That's what it takes, no doubt. Everybody feeling good about where they're at on the ball club, knowing their role, and just trying to help their teammates out, help the group come together, and that's what we got right now.
Mariners back to the 500 mark at 30-30, gained ground on the American League West. Everybody else lost last night. Seattle goes for the sweep and their 6th win in a row tonight against the Twins. Christian Bergman on the mound against Kyle Gibson. Well, even though Gene Segura is on the disabled list, the Mariners thought enough of his abilities to sign him to a 5-year contract extension yesterday. The signing worth a reported $70 million over 5 years with an option for a 6th and a no-trade clause. Segura said he's really happy to be in Seattle with a great staff and support system.
Some great guys behind me here. You know, like Robbie, Nelly, you know, a lot of people here that take care of me, and even in the coaching staff, front office, everybody. I feel like this is home for me, and you know, as a player, you choose where you feel comfortable, you feel like a home for you. It doesn't matter, how much money you're gonna take. It's all about how you're gonna feel.
Segura leads the American League in hitting with a .341 average, currently on the 10-day disabled list with a high ankle sprain. He was a National League All-Star for Milwaukee in 2013 and led the National League last year in his lone season with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Mariners and Twins wrapping it up tonight. That's a look at sports news. I'm Eric Grandstrom on the NCW Life Channel. Steve, back to you.
Welcome back to NCW Live News on an otherwise overcast Thursday. The Town Toyota Center is going to the dogs, literally. The arena and the Wenatchee Downtown Association are teaming up Saturday to host the first annual Dog Days of Summer event. Arena publicist Jennifer Bouchon described the event on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley earlier this week.
Really, our target audience is moms and kids. So moms, kids, 10-year-olds, come. You can leave your dog at home, and you can find educational opportunities for your children. We have a hands-on, Cascade Vet is providing a hands-on vet clinic, so you actually can learn how to be a veterinarian. You can have the stethoscope. There'll be well-trained dogs there, provided by the Wenatchee Kennel Club. So if you want to come and, hey, maybe you're looking at getting a bulldog, but you're not quite sure how they can react with kids. We will have those dogs will be there for your family to check out. We have lots of free giveaways, which everybody loves.
Yeah, everybody loves free stuff.
And we have vendors coming in from both the Seattle market as well as we have a national brand coming in, as well as our great Firehouse Pet Shop from downtown Wenatchee. So we have so many different aspects of pet care, animal care, both the science behind being a vet. And so I'm looking forward to really seeing that. It is a free event to come in, but once you come in, there will be tickets for all of the activity areas. So I really want to emphasize it is free to come in, but we're encouraging families to check out the vet clinic, check out the kids activity area, check out maybe if you want to do yoga right at 10 o'clock. Come on in. It's 2 tickets, $2 basically to do yoga. You want to try some agility training with your dog or some obedience training. So we will have small ticketed areas for those events. We're looking forward to having thousands.
Again, that's Jennifer Bouchon with the Town Toyota Center and Linda Haglund with the Wenatchee Downtown Association joining Dan Kuntz recently on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. By the way, that event also features what they're calling a dog beauty pageant, which will also serve as a fundraiser for the Downtown Association. Hey, coming right back in just a moment with a recap of today's top stories, also your weather forecast for North Central Washington.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life Community Calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back to NCW Live News. I'm Steve Hare. Let's recap for you some of the stories we've been following for today. First of all, it appears that the threat of landslide has eased in the foothills along Squilchuck Road southwest of Wenatchee. County commissioners say they continue to monitor the ground movement in the Whispering Ridge and Cranmer Road areas, which remain closed. Commissioner Kevin Overbay says crews have completed work to reduce the threat downslope along Squilchuck Road.
They actually put about 780 feet of culvert in on the upper side of Squilchuck Road. It's a 3-foot diameter. Would be able to, in the event that the hillside comes down, in a catastrophic event that blocks the roadway, blocks the creek area, what that would be is a bypass for water to get through versus having it dam up behind, whatever land would come down. And so it's more of a preventative measure right now. Not saying that the catastrophic event will occur, but in case it does, that's just part of our preparation for that.
So how has the movement been down there as far as slope of the movement?
It has slowed down since our weather has dried out a little bit, but we still do have some movement up on Cranmer Road, and we are monitoring this on a weekly basis.
Commissioner Overbay also added that Cranmer Road remains closed to the general public and it's local traffic only on Whispering Ridge Road. Also in Okanogan County, repair work continues on Highway 20, the Loop Loop Pass, after several washouts closed that roadway earlier this spring. DOT spokesman Jeff Adamson says it could be a long wait to get that road reopened due to the extent of damage.
There are 8 different locations where the roadway was damaged badly enough to close it by itself. With 8 of them in there, We have a contract. Their target is July 20th. That's the end of the contract. And our hope is that we will be able to have the roadway open by then, but frankly, we're not making any predictions at this point.
Spring runoff has caused a variety of problems for Okanagan and Ferry counties, where scars from the last 3 years of record wildfires has resulted in washouts and landslides. As far as Highway 20 is concerned, there is an alternate route using Highway 153 through the Mid-Howe. Water's for fighting for. Well, that's Mark Twain's famous quote, and it best describes the legislature's debate over a response to the state Supreme Court's so-called Hearst ruling. Quite contentious issue here. In its 6-3 ruling, the state Supreme Court said Whatcom County had failed to protect water resources by allowing new wells to reduce flow in streams for fish and other uses. Well, the court said counties must ensure in the future that water is physically and legally available before issuing new building permits in certain areas. 12th District State Representative Kerry Condata commented.
This is all being pushed not only by the courts, but right now by a group of Seattle legislators. There's a large group of Seattle legislators because that's where the population is, and they have come to the conclusion they want to stick with this decision, and it is not tolerable to those of us out here. It's just not necessary. I don't think Seattle understands the water situation out here, and they're trying to implement their issues on us. And this has been a big sticking point the last few years, that if folks in Seattle who have moved their caucus considerably to the left have really tried to become the statewide model, and that's not right. I don't care personally what Seattle does. They can do whatever they want, but they're meddling with our livelihood, our farming, and our water situation. So this has to be solved. Now, we're fortunate in one respect that the capital budget is a very important budget for a lot of folks, and the Senate holds the capital budget, and so does the House, because you have to have 60 votes for a capital budget. So we're in control of this, and we are not going to let that capital budget out until we get an agreement on Hearst. But they are not moving, and it's our leaders met with the governor yesterday. The governor wants to move. He'd like to get it done, but frankly, the Seattle legislators are drawing a line in the sand.
Now, the legislature is currently in special session after failing to adopt a budget before the April 23rd regular session. NCW Life News continues now with Dan Kuntz. He has our weather forecast for north central Washington.
The high-pressure ridge that gave us the warm temperatures, the well above normal warm temperatures for the first part of this week, is gone. And that means a cold front is going to be allowed to pass right on through, and it is. As a matter of fact, as we speak, the cold front brings widespread showers and cooler temperatures. In fact, we're going from well above normal to well below normal for the foreseeable future, including tonight. Partly cloudy skies, 49 for the overnight low. Going to be a little windy at times tonight. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour, pretty consistent at about 10 miles an hour northwest wind. Friday, partly sunny skies and some thunderstorms, a little bit of both. It'll start out with sunshine Friday morning. The clouds will thicken up as the day progresses, and a high tomorrow of 69. Again, that is well below normal. Could even see a slight thunderstorm on Friday afternoon. We certainly can't rule it out. For Friday night, slight chance of showers and thunderstorms. Overnight low of about 48. Here's your weekend. Saturday, a 40% chance of showers, mostly in the afternoon. Going to be cloudy again and again cool, and a high of 71. We wrap up the weekend Sunday under partly sunny skies. Should be dry and a high of 75. And that's your forecast on the NCW Life Channel.
Thanks, Dan. Well, that's a wrap on our Thursday news. For more on these stories and other news from around north central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or log on to our website at ncwlife.com. Remember, if you see news happening, please share it with us, would you? You can do it by email, that address, news@ncwlife.com, or give us a call. 888-NCWL. That's 888-6295 for news tips. I'm Steve Hare. Have a great night.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life Channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com. Like us on Facebook and follow NCW Life Channel on Twitter.
Get the fastest internet available in north central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.